Anthology. Is there any word more thrilling to the human soul? Every few years, the Simpsons writers grace our screens with the most mid-episode of the year. 3 short stories we witness and never think about again. They sure are episodes of The Simpsons. But surely, amidst all these random-ass parodies, some emerged as the cream of the crop. By my count, there have been 15 anthology episodes, containing 48 segments in total. This includes Thanksgiving of Horror and Treehouse of Horrors Presents, by the way, as they are not technically official Treehouse episodes, and it got left off those lists. With this kind of ranking, I say the more the merrier. So let's get to it. Here are the top 20 Simpsons anthology segments. When I think of anthology segments, this is the one I think of first. This adaptation of The Odyssey has all the hallmarks. It parodies a famous story with Simpsons characters, it's super episodic, wandering from set piece to set piece, and it features some Homer-Marge marital drama. Oh, the teen seasons. At least in this one, Homer gets to spear his problems to death. I feel like this one peaks in the middle, where they're steering heedlessly toward every weirdo with an island. The source material lends itself well to Simpsons shenanigans. Love these guys as the Roman gods, Barney as Bacchus is perfect. Unfortunately, it's landing down here at number 20 because its jokes are very hit or miss. Didn't need the creepy disco stew joke, and I've seen this river Styx gag about 100 times. And again, this segment is literally a bunch of loosely connected set pieces. This shortened adaptation doesn't have much story to actually grasp onto. Honestly, I can't believe that Christopher Nolan decided to make an entire movie based on this Simpsons segment. The Simpsons predicted it again. Bartman Begins is one of those that is hard carried by its source material. Batman is a cool character, so parodying him is always going to be a fun time. The Simpsons loves themselves some Batman references. So, I like Bartman Begins for a lot of the same reasons I like Batman. We get a tale of revenge, a colorful rogues gallery, and a tense showdown with the big bad. Finally, the show is actually using Bartman for something. It is strange that it's billed as a Batman Begins homage initially, as it's actually going for the 1960s Batman or some of the sillier comic stuff. I mean, the showdown is with a magical snake charmer. So stylistically, the homage is kinda all over the place. In general, I don't think this is an especially well executed segment, with its curious lack of action and some terrible jokes in there. The Diddler is disturbingly funny though. The other disturbing thing is whenever a Simpsons character gets super muscular. Please stop doing this. I know I'm nitpicking this segment a lot, but I promise I still do like it overall. It's just, a Batman parody could have easily been top 5, and instead, it's landing down here. Ah, the Garden of Eden, the original Homer-Marge marriage crisis in human history. But wait, this time they have a godly Ned Flanders bossing them around. I've always found this retelling cute enough, just a hangout segment with naked Homer and Marge riffing on their relationship. I wouldn't call it an amazing romance or anything, they're more interested in joking about the setting itself, which was a good approach. Still, with the Tree of Knowledge and Eve's banishment, we get some of their trademark marital bickering. She's toiling, Homer, can't you see she's toiling? Honestly, my favorite thing about this segment are that pig and that unicorn. The pig is so good-natured and happy about what he does, and the dogged, out-of-breath unicorn voice always gets a laugh. This is why we can't have nice things. I wouldn't say this is the most revolutionary parody of the Garden of Eden, but it does the job. I am completely whelmed by it. Oh look, it's the only good part of Simpsons Christmas stories. Okay, the second good part. I love a good musical number, and this segment gets by due to its sheer amount of energy alone. This thing goes 100 miles an hour right out the gate. And then later, Homer's song about shopping for Marge is the exact same way. Just boom, 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 keep rushing to the next stanza. This is the problem with putting lyrics to Tchaikovsky. These melodies were not meant for this kind of thing. From a lyrical perspective, this is certainly the sweatiest Simpsons musical in history. I feel exhausted just listening to it. Can't wait for them to put words to Flight of the Bumblebee. I used to dislike the middle part with Mo due to its content, but I've changed my mind. It's played cartoony enough that it comes off as silly dark rather than depressing dark, and this particular gag rules. We desperately needed the Sugar Plum Fairy to slow things down for a second. I also appreciate that this segment has some heart, that it ends with this sweet Homer-Marge gift exchange. It's very cute, and is probably the only thing on this list that gives me the warm fuzzies. I like this segment mostly for one very stupid reason, and it's not even the main thrust of the story. Look at this Homer. Look at his big stupid mustache, how he speaks in that over-the-top French accent and chases after a giant cheese wheel. Homer as Napoleon III is so damn funny to me. God, that mustache looks ridiculous. He's literally chewing the scenery. The rest of it is solid enough. It's your typical Springfield Elementary adaptation set in a different era. I prefer this version to the Lisa Nardo one before it because the artistic rivalry with Skinner is more compelling and fun, and adds some Skinner-Chalmers action to the mix. Toulouse-Lautrec contributes some silly jokes and an eye-catching set piece as a change of pace. At the end of the day, I guess it's not the most action-packed or clever segment or anything. Not much actually happens in it. But sometimes you can win the day by putting Homer in a giant mustache. You know what's funny? 1950s suburbia. Look at them drinking their martinis at lunch. Look at the pregnant women in their martinis. Look at the martinis at the end. Huh, I'm starting to think this segment only has one thing to say about this era. This one is fun for its sense of mystery and intrigue. It's not an especially meticulous plot, given its limited runtime. In fact, all the expository dialogue they shove into it is its weakest aspect. However, it is unsettling hearing this woman scream from underground. It's unsettling watching Luann Van Houten essentially drugging Bart with warm cream to get him out of the way. Evil Luann is something I never knew I wanted before. Now, I wouldn't say it's scary or anything. This isn't a Treehouse segment proper, but it does successfully convey a sinister atmosphere, that not everything is what it seems. I think if it were funnier in general and its setup were less clunky, it would be top 10 for sure. When you think about it, this parody of the Scottish play is essentially a Treehouse of Horrors segment, right? They take common source material and spin something nightmarish about the characters. In this case, Marge being an ambitious homicidal maniac. It's obviously totally out of character for her, but it's so much fun seeing her slide into this Lady Macbeth role. Instead of nagging Homer to do the right thing, she nags him into murder after murder after murder. I actually buy this bizarro version of their dynamic, oddly enough. Doing this segment as them putting on a play is so much more interesting than doing it straight, especially since the show had already done Hamlet. They're able to insert a ton of fun meta jokes and use their secondary cast well. Sideshow Mel dies in such a brutal and dramatic way, very fitting for him. And Homer's soliloquy at the end is a legitimately awesome performance by Dan. It's not an especially funny segment, which does lower its ranking a bit. There's not a big laugh out loud moment in it. But it's such a nice change of pace for their anthology episodes, one that always keeps me invested. You know, after rewatching this, I think this segment could be classified as a hate crime against the English. You took Queen Elizabeth and cast Selma in the role. That's really mean. But that's what I love about it. What a train wreck Selma is as the lead. Just an absolute mess from beginning to end. Every scene is designed with the idea of making Selma as unflattering as possible. And they have Mo there the entire time snarking at her, even getting the final word. The setup is very Muppety, where you intentionally cast weirdos and let their personalities merge with the roles. Why is the King of Spain gay? I don't know, because the Simpsons had a character named Julio, and so they can do this flaming dreamboats joke. The whole thing is really, really, really stupid, but I admire a segment that commits wholeheartedly to shtick. Also, we have Homer Marge Anthology Romance number 27. But it's more tolerable here because it's more of a side plot for an extra wrinkle. So anyway, sorry to all my English viewers for this ranking. Unless you all hate Queen Elizabeth as a historical figure, in which case, hooray! I like this segment for the same reason as Lisa's rival. It's so interesting seeing Lisa grapple with someone better than her, watching it slowly drive her insane. In the case of this segment, quite literally. The fact that it's Bart and it's about music makes it even better. I know they did that later season 18 episode with a similar premise, but I like this anthology take much better. Bart is pitch perfect as the brilliant jackass Mozart, effortlessly showing off his talent in his obnoxiously flamboyant style. You really do understand Lisa's frustration and why she becomes so petty and vengeful. Great rivalry stuff. Exactly what you want out of an Amadeus homage. The fact that Mozart and Salieri are siblings is the weirdest thing about it structurally. Like, Homer's great in this, but he has a rather strange role in this parody. But it's not like these things have to be a one-to-one recreation. The rest of it is by the book, so it does provide a unique Simpsons spin. Also, hey, we got Beethoven Nelson in here. Take that, Salieri. I absolutely love the world building of this segment. Seeing Springfield in this dystopian Fahrenheit 451 future is so cool. The slick, monochrome designs of their houses, the rundown Springfield Elementary, the hidden vault beneath the android's dungeon. It's such a bummer that this is only 1/3 of an episode, because I want to see more of this reality. The only bad thing about this segment is that, plot-wise, it sticks extremely closely to the source material. Nothing about its twists or turns will surprise you in any way. To be honest, maybe it's self-aware about that critique, where Bart betraying Homer is played very matter-of-factly. Like, what did we expect? Still, the twist on the concept is funny enough that it doesn't matter much. I love that the contraband is junky, brainless television, that the dystopia is intricately plotted prestige TV. It's very true to Homer's personality to eventually rebel against this. Who says that The Simpsons is above stupid television? Are you one of those Simpsons fans who prefers Lisa and Nelson over Lisa and Milhouse? Well, boy, do I have an anthology segment for you. Get out of here, loser. Well, actually I enjoy this one for what a nightmare version these two are. It's like the kids' version of that Macbeth segment. Let's watch our favorite characters become dysfunctional junkies and ruin each other's lives. Hey, it's just like the source material. Lisa is so damn hilarious in this thing. She plays so against character with how shrill and aggressive she becomes. And Nelson is mostly catatonic by the end of it. Seeing these two so strung out is hilarious and dark. I've never seen chocolate abused in so many disparate ways. I can see why Bart, Dolph, and Jimbo get so sick of their shit. I suppose some of the Sex Pistols stuff feels very how do you do, fellow kids, from an institution like The Simpsons, so there is a little lameness to the bit. But you're adapting Sid and Nancy with kid characters, so it's gonna end up a little cheesy. Everything is bollocks indeed. This Hamlet parody might be the best adaptation in any of these segments, with how they cast everyone. It's actually eerie how well the Simpsons cast slides into these roles, with the Moe-Marge angle, Bart avenging Homer, Krusty doing the play within a play. Even Wiggum works oddly well as a Polonius. I like how Lisa's only role as Ophelia is to get jealous, pretend to be crazy, and throw herself out a window. This surely is the fate of Ophelia. The jokes in general are extremely strong, especially by season 13 standards. It hits a nice balance of making fun of these sillier aspects of Hamlet while letting the Simpsons characters' personalities shine through. Ralph's not really a Laertes, but him immediately stabbing himself is how the play should have gone. I do think the ending falls apart a bit, with Bart killing Moe and immediately dying from an accident, but that does lead to that funny Marge bit. I guess this is the problem with having to kill off basically everyone in the span of 60 seconds. That Shakespeare sure was a funny guy. This segment is such a good idea. Casting Homer as Henry VIII, absolutely perfect. You've got Homer's gluttony, his impulsiveness, his jerkassery, the family angle. It's got it all. The Henry VIII story is so cuckoo bananas already in the most horrible way that ironically, The Simpsons don't have to mess with it much. Like, how do you make this situation even more subversive? I guess by having Catherine of Aragorn smother Henry in the end. This is what really should have happened. The jokes are strong across the board, using its secondary cast well. Love Chief Wiggum as the executioner, even if it gets repetitive after a while. I don't even mind the Lisa growing a penis joke. I know that's an unpopular take amongst fans, but come on, it's clearly meant to be incredibly awkward and unfair. I guess that's why this Lisa grew up to become Bloody Mary. Wait a minute, doesn't she later marry the King of Spain from that other segment? I don't know how that is gonna turn out. Oh, and does that mean that Homer's child with Lindsay Naegle ends up being Selma? That's the real reason he had Anne Boleyn killed. Anyway, this segment is great. Thanks Henry VIII for being so awful that we got funny cartoon parodies out of it. Christianity will never be the same. The Last Thanksgiving is straight up a great Treehouse of Horrors segment. I know we're doing anthology segments today, and this is the one that most blurs the line. It's just a great monster movie, very much in the spirit of Alien and whatnot. Casting these kids in these roles works exceptionally well in creating tension, a sense of vulnerability, and provides a group of unimportant randos to kill off in the background. The monster being mutated cranberry sauce eating their bones is such a horrifyingly quirky concept. By far, my favorite part is the Martin scene, which was Russi Taylor's final role in the series. It's such a deranged yet epic moment for the character, betraying the others and willingly sacrificing his body to the monster. I don't care if this plotline comes way the hell out of nowhere, it's awesome. My big nitpick is that the ending with the alien Thanksgiving is pretty weak, but I get what they're going for. Gotta close out the cranberry sauce story somehow, I suppose. This was, by far, the toughest item to rank for this list. Cause I love the Love-Matic Grandpa. It's a classic segment we all know by heart. This thing is great. But is it one of the very best anthology segments ever? Not really. Look, I get what they're parodying here, with those hokey cornball magical sitcoms like My Mother the Car, or more respectable examples like Bewitched. And to their credit, they do a wonderful job nailing the conventions. You get the redesign of Moe's for the multi-camera sitcom, the laugh track, and Homer playing to the audience as the guest star. All flawlessly executed. Oh, and don't forget the opening jingle. To be honest, this little cartoon alone makes me feel bad for ranking it down here. I love it so very much. That said, it's a sitcom parody, and I'm honestly tired of these send-ups. Everyone loves doing the intentionally shitty laugh track dialogue these days. I realize this critique is unfair, as the Simpsons version came before a lot of that stuff, and are doing, like, the best version of this format. But still, going back to it, I don't find it as interesting as I used to. They made a parody of a bad sitcom, and it does feel like a bad sitcom. So yeah, while I still love the Love-Matic Grandpa, it's not the best anthology segment ever. I don't know why I enjoy a Gobbleicto so much, because it's not my thing at all. I don't seek out violent or gory material, and this thing is jam-packed with it. Wanna see Maud Flanders' head explode? Wanna see a bunch of folks' heads lopped off right in a row? Wanna see a drug-addled Wiggum get mauled by a bear? This is the segment for you. I think it's the hyper-aggressiveness that I most appreciate. That they don't half-ass it, they really go for the violence. It creates so much tension, where you feel like you're right there with the turkeys being led to the slaughter. Plot-wise, it's not that coherent, where things suddenly happen and everything goes off the rails, but still, they're committing to the bit, this fireball of violent insanity. It's definitely the most manic segment in Simpsons history. If you hate all the horror and gore and stuff, at least it's got the cute turkey talk at the beginning. Super creative, and they do an excellent job communicating the implied dialogue. Plus, it's got an adorable Maggie turkey. What more could you want? I've gone on record before about how much I love this segment, so this ranking shouldn't be surprising. In fact, it's carrying Simpsons Tall Tales in general. I sit through Connie Appleseed just to get to this one. This thing has so many great jokes in it. It's kinda unfair, because Mark Twain was such a subversive bastard already, but the Simpsons still get their spin on it. I laugh every single time at the Missouri, Missouri joke. It's so stupid. As well as how quickly Marge runs away. So Looney Tunes. Then we have stuff like the Derringer bullets, the 99-cent store, and Hibbert singing Old Man River. Also the word pone is funny. Pone. I like that they had the balls to commit to this over-the-top dark ending. It's so disturbing and bleak, but works as an amazing screw-the-audience ending for the source material. To be honest, I wanted to put this one even higher, because there really isn't anything wrong with it. It's just one of those where I like the others just a little more. There's nothing mighty weak about this segment. The 1970s are funny. That's the whole segment. Or at least this version of the 1970s was funny. What I appreciate about the Smile Time Variety Hour is its sense of balance. We get the super bad dialogue and an idiotically corny sketch about beavers. We get meta commentary about the format with the announcer and the Brady Bunch reference with Lisa. And we get some genuine showmanship. It's not just heady meta jokes and parody stuff, it still has a strong desire to entertain the audience. From I Want Candy and onward, this segment is relentlessly funny. The song itself just bouncing around swiftly and mindlessly. Why are the kids doing this dance now? Because it's fun, shut up. Then, oh, now it's Jasper and his lollipop. Oh, now it's a Devo parody. And now we're at the song's finale. Wait, a Hans Moleman poem? The comedy is so stream of consciousness, vaguely connecting random shit together. Despite The Simpsons being such a tightly written show, there's a real looseness to this segment that is super appealing. These old variety shows didn't worry about being coherent, so why should The Simpsons? Here is my negative critique of the fourth Thursday after tomorrow. It has a lot of Marge dialogue, and her conversations with herself can sound rough. But I promise, it gets better and less distracting. Anyway, this thing rules. Doing this Black Mirror segment feels like an evolution of the old House of Wax concept. Except here, it's even better, because it has existential dread. They do a great job putting us in the shoes of AI Marge, and considering the ramifications of this reality. Her rivalry with the real Marge is so compelling. How Marge rightfully gets creeped out by how much it knows about her, how horrified she is by Homer falling asleep in the kitchen with her AI self. But Marge also wants to delete her from existence, so from our point of view, she surprisingly becomes the villain of the piece. It is satisfying seeing her Thanksgiving deception get ratted out. The Maggie angle of her choosing the AI Marge over her is so messy and interesting. Exactly the kind of thing I want out of a Black Mirror homage. Chillingly plausible. Look, I've been telling you guys for years to watch Thanksgiving of Horror. It's easily the second best Anthology episode, and this Marge segment is the best of that bunch. Unfortunately, it just was never gonna sit atop this whole countdown. And I think you all know why. This segment is everything. Amazing jokes across the board, a fun new setting, a smidge of action, the works. They really nail the random nature of spin-offs, where you know some TV exec just threw Chief Wiggum and Principal Skinner together in New Orleans. There is nothing organic about this premise at all, and it is so good. I like how useless Skinner is as a legman, not knowing about Mardi Gras and relying on Parade magazine. And Chief Wiggum fulfills the role of our deeply flawed protagonist, carrying the show through the sheer force of his personality. I feel like the inclusion of Ralph is this segment's secret sauce. It would be easy for them to just parody the action-packed stuff, but these shows always have some kind of grounding character relationship angle. Plus, bringing in Ralph for anything is usually a good play. I can't think of a single joke that doesn't work in this thing. We've got the skull, the corked alligator, Ralph playing the spoons, the Simpsons stilted crossover dialogue, the governor's mansion, he's slowly getting away. Big Daddy in general is the funniest character in any of these anthology segments. Sorry, giant mustache Homer, Big Daddy is better. Literally everything he does is interesting, much like his stamp collecting. I find myself wishing I could see him battle Wiggum each week, watch them chase each other through the streets of New Orleans. To be honest, when I started this project, I wondered if there were even 20 anthology segments worth ranking. These homages and parodies always feel so disposable to me and leave such a small impression afterward. In general, I feel like it's a bad sign when an anthology episode makes the seasonal top 10 list. They're like the ultimate filler episodes. But I have to say, after rewatching them all for this project, it did reignite my love for the format. Like, none of these are deep or complex or thought-provoking in any way, but they're simple, straightforward fun. Simpsons comedy at its purest form. It's like the message of that Fahrenheit 451 segment. Sometimes just throwing the characters into a silly costume is enough. I'm quite happy with the 20 segments I landed on. I had a good time with all of them. As always, let me know in the comments what your favorite anthology episodes are, and which ones on my list are overrated or underrated. I have literally never thought about this ranking before, so I'd be interested where others landed. Just make sure you don't insult Giant Mustache Homer, or you will get the guillotine. So as always, thanks for watching.